So I started recording this review and completely forgot that I didn't have my light set on. So great. Before we go on ahead, I want to talk about my Mandalorian Season 1 thoughts, what I thought of it, just so you have some context of what my experience is with this show. So Mandalorian Season 1 was overall a solid episode. There was a solid season, sorry. There are a few bad episodes, like that stupid gunslinger episode in Season 5. Everyone hated it. It's one of the 2 episodes that Dave Filoni directed. It was terrible. Awful acting. Only really cool part of that episode was, we got to go to Tatooine after a long time. And then overall the show was awesome. Baby Yoda, whose name is Grogu now, even though I don't really like the name, it's grown on me. Was amazing in it. I loved how his inclusion in the show wasn't extremely distracting. Anyways, let's get into Mandalorian Season 2. This season is better. I did not expect it to be better. When we started hearing rumors that Boba Fett's gonna be in it, people from Battlefront 2, which wasn't actually, there's only mentions of that video game, there's not characters from it. We were gonna get Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. I was like, this show is gonna drop the ball. They don't know what they're doing. They're jumping the shark way too much. And I am so happy to report that that is not the case at all. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni know Star Wars, and that is why they're so competent, and they basically know what they're doing. Not once did I feel like they are insulting what Star Wars stood for, or ruining things or changing things in a way that doesn't affect anything in the past. It's just great. The inclusion of extended lore and stuff is just awesome, and I love it, and they've done it appropriately in a non-distracting manner. The story is awesome. It's very simple, like the first season. Mando is trying to bring back, he's on a quest to bring back Grogu to the Jedi. And it's simplistic, and along the way we get some complex scenarios and situations. Even Boba Fett, who's in this show, has a mini arc. They try to put that in there, and it wasn't shoehorned in. It felt earned. Like I said, the inclusions of the Clone Wars characters, like Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, and Boba Fett, who's a huge fan favorite who completely got wasted in Return of the Jedi, got amazing treatment here. We'll talk more about him soon. Everything felt earned in terms of stories and stuff. I just have a few gripes, but we're going to get to that later. The acting is solid. There's not crappy acting like that gunslinger guy from the last season. Everyone does a great job. The action is immaculate. My 2 favorite action sequences in the entire show is, well, actually 3. 3 actions. One being the huge crate dragon battle that I talked about in my Mandalorian Episode 1 review, Season 2 video, is amazing, especially the fact that they used IMAX cameras and just completely enhanced that sequence. It was just awesome. Felt like a mini movie. It felt like a mini adventure, like a Western, but at the same time it's like this large-scale battle. Just awesome. And my second favorite fight scene is Boba Fett in the Robert Rodriguez directed episode, just smashing stormtroopers, just blowing their heads off with the Zaffy stick and just shattering their face, and then finally donning that super awesome Mandalorian Boba Fett armor and just destroying people with it, just shooting them, blowing them up, shooting the rocket from the jetpack, and then blowing one of the transport ships, which then crashes into the other one, and then they both just explode. Just awesome. Final action sequence I really liked was when Ahsoka Tano fights Bruce Lee's goddaughter. I forgot her name. I think it's Diane something. I don't know. That lightsaber fight, and it's like extremely... I've never seen Kurosawa, but apparently it has like very, very cool inspirations from Kurosawa films, which George Lucas actually was. You see, these people know what they're doing. They literally bring from roots of things George Lucas liked and applying it to Star Wars just like he did. So why isn't that type of inspiration missing in the sequel trilogy? Because Disney had the right people right in front of them but did nothing and gave it to these morons to do it. At the same time, they acted like morons and completely ruined the sequel trilogy. You know what? I'm not going to mention the sequel trilogy again, okay? If I do it, slap me in the face and put me back into the topic, which is The Mandalorian Season 2. The acting is great. Pedro Pascal, once again, is awesome. He's given more dramatic things to do, like, for example, when he reveals himself and he takes his helmet off multiple times here, and there's two scenes that I thought was really well acted by Pedro Pascal. There's a scene when he takes his helmet off when he's trying to infiltrate this Imperial base so he can find where Moff Gideon is, and he feels so uncomfortable, and he doesn't do it in this overreacting, extremely exaggerated way like most filmmakers would make it. He's like very subtle, and you can see it in his eyes that he's so uncomfortable having this helmet off. And then there's another scene when he takes his helmet off at the end to say goodbye to Grogu, which was a great scene, and his eyes are swelling up, and awesome. Great acting overall. Gina Carano is also great. There's a scene where she just pummels these two stormtroopers to death. It was awesome. She just bounces back and forth to their face, and those guys probably got nose surgery after what she did to them. Awesome. She's also great. Fennec Shand, who's played by Ming-Na Wen, who I thought got murdered in the last season. She comes back, and I like that callback, and she makes that episode, that garbage episode from last season, better. And her character gets somewhat of redemption, if you will, and that's great. And I love how she's the new sidekick for Boba, so sort of like how Jango Fett had a sidekick, Zam Weasel, I think that's what her name was, in Attack of the Clones, except he freaking killed her. And I hope Boba Fett doesn't do that, because Ming-Na Wen is an incredible actress. Funny thing, did you know Ming-Na Wen and Dave Filoni went to the same high school? It's freaking awesome. It's cool. The fact that she's a great actress, and I felt like she got wasted in the first season, but the fact that they brought her back, and apparently she's going to be in the Boba Fett episode 2 is awesome. It's just awesome. This is incredible. Loved it. Carl Weathers is great, even though he's like in one episode. I don't know why he's like in one episode. I feel like he got like exhausted from directing that one episode he was in, because he directed and acted in it, and he just got exhausted, and he's like, all right, bye, I'm done. Leave me one episode. In terms of awesome moments the show had, Luke Skywalker is probably my top one. It's probably top one for everyone, even though his CGI for his face felt unfinished. That scene when he just cuts through all those droids, I never thought they were going to do it. Like, the fact that they brought in Luke Skywalker into a very streamlined, contained show, I was like, there's no way they're going to do it. There's absolutely zero reasons for them to do it. They would never take that risk. They would never go up that high and just reach that pedestal, but they did, which just makes me pissed off that they never did that in the sequel trilogy. Nothing was exciting in that trilogy like this scene. This scene was more exciting than the entire sequel trilogy, and that's a shame. That's a shame. Also, Ahsoka Tano was awesome. Friggin' Rosario Dawson, like, perfect casting, man. Perfect casting. This is awesome. She's getting her own show, and it's ran by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau as well, which is perfect. And she is so cool. That lightsaber fight when she just cuts around those guys and just slices through them. Awesome. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. And that episode itself has beautiful shots in it. Bo-Katan was awesome. Even though the episode that she's in is way too short, I really wish they delved into the lore a little bit more, so the people who have no idea who she is, like the people who've never seen, Clone Wars or Rebels, who have no idea, why is everyone freaking out? Wait, she's just another Mandalorian for other people. They should have delved in a little bit more. They do later on, but, just build more context to these characters. They do with Ahsoka, and they do with Bo-Katan, but I just wish they delved a little bit more, just so the people who have never seen these shows have somewhat of a following, And maybe we'll see that in the next seasons, and maybe we'll see that in the Ahsoka show. We'll see. Boba Fett, like I talked about before, Tamira Morrison coming back, him getting his own show, I think. That's what Book of Boba Fett, I think, is. I'm sure is. He was awesome. He killed it. They never told us exactly how he survived the Sarlacc pit. They sort of imply it in the first episode when they talk about how the Krayt Dragon actually eats Sarlacc pits, which was kind of cool. and the fact that he somehow survived and he's scarred because of it. And then he actually gets a new paint job in his Boba Fett armor. I was like, there's no way. I really want him to do it. And it's kind of cool because the episode that he gets his armor back is the episode when Grogu is taken away by Moff Gideon. So they're in this extremely tense situation in which they're on a race to go find where Moff Gideon is. But he was like, you know what? Give me a second. I'm going to get a new paint job. I haven't seen this armor in a while. Just give me a second. I'm going to go to a paint. I'm going to go get some bear paint and paint my armor. Okay? Just give me a second. So in terms of negatives, I just have a few. They're not like overbearing. They're not like an entire episode is complete garbage like there was last season. What I didn't like about there's only one episode I didn't like this season, and that's not because it was bad. It just felt way too filler to the point where it had absolutely nothing to do with the story. If you take a look at these filler episodes that people like to call in season 1 and season 2, they have some sort of hints here and there and moments here and there that actually add up to the final story. This episode had none of that. And what I'm talking about is the second episode with the frog lady and the spiders. And these spiders were cool because they were actually in Rebels, I think. And they were also old Ralph McQuarrie designs for Empire Strikes Back, which ended up not being in the movie. It's overall an enjoyable episode. And the next episode was nice to see, the frog lady reunite with the frog guy. It was like a nice, sweet moment. But it was just, these episodes are already extremely short, which leads to my next negative. So it felt like, they could have used this episode for the budget and the time and put it into some of the things they needed to flesh out, like I mentioned before, sort of like the inclusion of Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, and just make these episodes longer, That's that's the biggest bummer about this episode. It's not poorly acted or anything like that. It's a fun episode. It felt like a nice horror movie type thing, and it has some insight about how the New Republic sort of polices the world, the galaxy, and that's really it, That's not enough. So the whole episode is just Mando in a cave shooting spiders, which is kind of a bummer. In terms of visuals, there are a few things that I completely was like, why did this even happen? There are a few completely CGI stormtroopers. I'm sure most of you notices. There's one where the guy gets run over by a boulder and it's completely CGI. And there's other ones where there's like people... There's like a scene where a stormtrooper just moves around and then it's just completely CGI, which was kind of jarring to see. And like I mentioned before, Luke's face felt unfinished. Also, I wish they used the IMAX thing again. Like, they used it in the first episode. I was like, why not? Why didn't you guys do it again? Like, it was just, that was awesome. I was really waiting for them, at least in the finale, to use it. Like, use a huge sequence with the IMAX lenses. I hope they use it more often later, because I love IMAX. I dig IMAX. The only person that really misuses it is Michael Bay. But I love it when Christopher Nolan does it, especially with like Dunkirk and the Dark Knight trilogy. And my final real negative with this is Moff Gideon's barely in it. He's not. I think he's in it less than he is in the first season. I might be mistaken. But even in the first and second season, he gets caught at the end. He loses at the end. It's not like there's a cliffhanger in which he just gets away with it, which is another thing I love about the season, in which they actually didn't leave off at a cliffhanger. They actually found conclusion, which was just satisfying, and I completely was surprised by it. And I just wish Moff Gideon had more of a presence. He was more in it, so we could flesh him out a little bit more, and we can get more Giancarlo Esposito, who's just an incredible actor. Love him. Absolutely love him in The Boys. Even in that show, he was extremely underutilized, as well as Breaking Bad, in which he plays Gustavo Fring, and he's just incredible in that. That's really my negatives. This season is incredible. Season 2 of The Mandalorian, amazing. You guys killed it. I cannot wait for Season 3. I'm going to give Mandalorian Season 2 a 9 out of 10. I was battling between myself, is it Season 1 better? Is Season 2 better? I ultimately landed in Season 2 because it felt more exciting. And before I go, that final scene with Mando saying goodbye to Grogu was just the sweetest thing ever. It's really emotional. Like, I kept rewatching that scene because it's really grabs your gut, and it's really a really sweet scene, you know. And as Luke walks away, and as Grogu looks at him, and Mando's eyes all swelling up and stuff, it's really nice. And I never ever felt that amount of emotion ever in the sequel trilogy, which is a real bummer. Thank you all for watching. Look forward to my videos coming soon, like the Star Wars movie reviews that I've talked about, as well as Wonder Woman 1984 review, as well as some Pixar Soul. It's so much fun to talk about Star Wars, good Star Wars at least. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you around next time. Bye.